is Stewart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Swerdlow.
And this is our Expansions News Podcast for the third week of November 2014. That's getting along there, and only a few weeks left of the year.
That's right. In fact, we're getting close to the American Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, I'm going to talk about that at the end. But, it was a rough November, a lot of cold and wind and snow and all that stuff. And it's supposed to get worse.
That's because it's global warming.
Yeah, well, I actually have a story about that, so just try to keep yourself calm.
I don't want to spill the beans too early.
All right, but here's a story that correlates to my Alien Agenda seminar that we did last month.
The one that we have on pay-per-view. That we have
on, and I do advise everyone to watch that, especially after you hear this next story. Because there is a doctor named he's a scientist named Dr. Brandenburg.
He's actually a physicist, isn't he?
Yes, I'm going to get to that. Yeah. Hello. Okay, just, try to take a chill pill there. Anyway, he says that there was an ancient Martian civilization, actually two of them, that was wiped out by nuclear bomb-wielding aliens, and that they could attack Earth next. Well, what are they waiting for? Now, I'm going to say, to just bullet point some of the stuff here, that this scientist is presenting his work at a conference very soon, in Chicago actually, in Illinois. And he says there is evidence of 2 nuclear explosions on Mars, and that there were 2 races that were wiped out that he calls the Sidonians and the Utopians. But if they were utopian, they lived in utopia. It can't be wiped out.
Well, apparently he's named them, so he could call them anything he wanted. But I agree, it's a silly name.
He could have called them Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Anyway, he says there is detection of uranium and thorium on the surface of Mars. Maybe the Iradian couple should go be living on Mars.
Maybe that's where they came from.
To tell them, that's not where they came from. You know that.
Where'd they come from?
They told you they came from the radiation dimension. Anyway, according to this information, he says that the civilization on Mars were attacked and massacred, and there's evidence of the genocide that can still be seen today. And back in 2011, there were some scientists who said that the red color on Mars could have been due to a thermonuclear explosion, although they said that was a natural thermonuclear. I never heard of a natural maybe there were plants that were growing thermonuclear bombs and they exploded. It makes sense to me. But this Dr. Brandenburg said, the Martian surface is covered with a thin layer of radioactive substances, including uranium, thorium, and radioactive potassium, and it radiates from one hotspot on Mars. Now, who is this Dr. Brandenburg? He actually had a normal career. He has a PhD in theoretical plasma physics from the University of California, Davis. Never heard of that. Theoretical plasma physics.
Well, there are a lot of different disciplines within physics.
Yeah, and currently he works as a plasma physicist at Orbital Technologies in Madison, Wisconsin, so it's just across the lake. And he's worked on a variety of propulsion technologies, and previously was an independent consultant on space missile defense and directed energy weapons. So he is a rocket scientist, really. Now, he has written a lot of books, but this one that's coming out in 2015, actually, and just this coming February, is called Death on Mars, The Discovery of a Planetary Nuclear Massacre. I want to get that book when it comes out in February. Now, he said that there are also nuclear isotopes in the atmosphere of Mars, which resemble hydrogen bomb tests and may present an example of civilization wiped out by a nuclear attack from space. Also, his research says there's high concentrations of xenon-129 in the Martian atmosphere. I don't know what xenon-129
I guess it's important because
but it doesn't sound like a good thing, Also, now according to this article, which is interesting, he said a lot of the evidence on Cydonia is near that famous face on Mars, But you know what the other scientists say?
What?
They said later images show that the face on Mars was a chance alignment of shifting dust dunes.
Well, we've heard things like that before.
Really?
Yeah.
And they just happen to form into eyes and nose and teeth and
Yeah.
that's really amazing.
That's what they say.
Now this is where it matches to what I have said in my books, and that is
Well, he's just across the lake. He probably is listening in on secret devices to what you have to say.
probably thermonuclear secret
He's probably
devices.
listening to your brain waves.
I don't have brainwaves. He says Mars once had an Earth-like climate and was home to animal and plant life, and any intelligent life would have been about as advanced as ancient Egyptians.
Now that's setting the scene, though.
Yeah. So like, how do you know that?
Yeah, but he's
and
setting
then where
a
would
scene.
they get thermonuclear weapons?
Yeah, but he's setting a scene.
And he also said that there was analysis from the Mars Express orbiters and Odyssey that shows strong evidence of eroded archaeological objects at these sites, which we're seeing from the Mars rover, which of course are debunked by conventional
At
news
this
services.
point.
Yet they're on conventional news services. And this is where it gets a little scary. He warns, though, that we need to be fearful of an attack on our own planet and should mount a manned mission to Mars to know what we're up against. Well, if there was an alien civilization that thermonuclear bombed that eons ago, I think they would have done that by now if they were,
Right.
you know.
No, I agree. Well, the other thing is they're talking about how many years it would take us to even get to Mars.
Well, now they're saying they could do it in 6 months with some kind of propulsion device. But anyway, moving along, and this is where it also matches. It says that his variations of this story view that our solar system was the home of several nuclear battles raged between alien visitors and settlers, which is, you know, what I talk about deliriums.
Yeah, he's setting
So
the stage.
it's basically everything I've told you people is now starting to come out by nuclear physicists.
Or physicists.
Or
Whatever kind of physicist he is.
exactly. And they could pay me like, you know, a tenth of what they get, and I would have told them that.
Well, you've been to Mars. You know it's there.
I have been there. I have a condo, actually. But, you know, we talked about the ice age
Right.
and how cold it is here in November already.
No, you've got that wrong. This is global warming, no ice
Yeah,
age.
well, let me explain that, because there's a climatologist by the name of John L. Casey who says that this weather pattern is here to stay for decades to come.
Now, I'm surprised the government's letting him speak.
Well, he is also a rocket scientist, because John Casey is a space shuttle engineer and NASA consultant.
Here's another consultant. So all these consultants now, you know, you never really leave their employ.
And he also wrote a book, which is coming out, called Dark Winter, How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell, in which he explains that a major shift in global climate will happen soon. So, like, duh. And now he says that the reason is because of a solar minimum, which I've talked about,
that.
and the reduced solar activity, less solar flares and sunspots, is the same thing that happened in the late 1700s and early 1800s, where there was a mini ice age. Now, he said the sun is going to enter a phase of reduced activity, which he characterized as a solar hibernation. And this could even lead to greater volcanic activities and earthquakes, which we are seeing right now.
Right.
Now, he said that the world is gearing up for the wrong calamity with the global
He's
warming
listening to
theory.
you too.
Well, see, and he said, but no one is going to be the worst, the cold.
What?
He said the cycle will be the worst in the late 2020s and the early 2030s. And there'll be food riots and food shortages because it'll be so cold. And he thinks that's why Russia is interested in taking over Ukraine, because Ukraine has all that wheat and grows crops as a wheat basket, and Russia wants that in case this happens. And the global warming theory is not accurate, he says, because for more than a decade, the oceans have been reduced in temperature, and since 2007, the atmosphere has been cooling rapidly. And he says the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are not affecting the global temperatures. Now, this is where it matches what I said about Russian scientists, because he said that Russian astrophysicist, there's the
Physicist stuff
thing.
again.
Now, this Russian astrophysicist is named Habibulo I. Abdusamatov.
If I said that, you would tell me to wash my mouth out with soap.
Well, you should anyway, because I don't know where you've been. Anyway, this Russian astrophysicist, said that a new mini ice age has already begun.
Well, where did he hear that from? I tell you, they're listening to you.
And corresponds in shifts in global temperature with a greater than 90% accuracy. Now, this other Dr. Casey says, now this is a very strong quote, he says, "There is no human on Earth, much less here in the U.S., who has experienced the depth and duration of cold we're about to experience. It's that serious."
Interesting. But I'm going to tell you something. I will make a prediction. We're not going to have food shortages. I'm going to tell you why.
Because you're going to store everything up in the freezer.
That for us, but
Right.
but besides that, because this will drive people to the inner Earth. So there's going to be another
Yeah, but they
layer.
don't even admit that exists
Well,
yet.
they're going to have to, because people are going to find the entrances, and then they're going to have to start admitting a few other things.
Well,
So
I'm going to go to my condo on Mars.
this is just the beginning.
I know, but I predicted it, and I told them years ago, Ice Age, and here it is.
Yeah,
Anyway,
now they're telling you.
now guess what happened today in Japan?
I know.
Yeah, there was a strong earthquake that struck central Japan, collapsing at least one building and injuring several people. It was 6.8 near the city of Nagano, and it was felt in Tokyo, which is 200 kilometers away. And all of the Japanese nuclear plants are offline right now to make sure that everything is okay. And this is very close to Mount Fuji, which I said is filling with magma, and the Japanese know it's going to, and I'm thinking this may be a little premonitory earthquake.
Could be.
Now, back to the U.S., because we have a short podcast today because of time constraints and things going on. But I need to address what Nation has done with the immigration bill.
That's a major thing going on now here in the U.S.
Yes, because his idea is to give amnesty to over 5 million illegal aliens, as long as they're not criminals.
How are they going to
Well, that's going to
figure
leave
that
him
one
out of it. And that's part of the North American Union idea.
Ploy.
And of course, he's saving his own butt, because when they really do find out and prove, which they already have, and make it public that he is an illegal alien, well, I signed a bill that says I can stay.
Very smart. And
So
that's what
he
he's doing.
overrode Congress, he overrode everyone, he acted like a dictator.
Yeah, and all the veterans are very upset
Very
because
upset.
they're not getting the same courtesy that he's extending to people who
That's
have
right.
moved in. So
No,
a
I'm
lot
not
of
saying you should throw 5 million people out.
no.
But you know what? There's a lot more than 5. There's maybe 20 million.
There's a
illegal.
lot of things going on here in the U.S. that's just bit by bit they're eroding away our freedoms. That's the point.
Well, they're just making it into what the EU is, allowing anyone to immigrate in, removing national identity, removing languages, removing culture, and it's just going to become one big soup, which maybe...
But that makes it easier for the staged alien invasion, because then everybody is one. So then we're going to be fighting as one unit. That's what they're...
And there's already no jobs for people, and the economy is already in the toilet bowl, and now you're going to say, okay, 5 more million people, now we can give you more benefits.
Yeah, well, they're making people dependent on the government versus their internal, and that's what we've talked about.
And plus the big scam with the Obamacare and the guy that created it, calling American voters stupid on video more than once.
A lot of stuff.
And then the guy who did the computer system said, "Oh, I didn't know there was a problem. I was just told to turn it on, but even if it was a glitch in it." Brilliant.
Yeah, well, they know what they're doing, obviously. So we have a lot of interesting news that continues to come forward that we happen to be studying.
Oh, and
Yes.
I just before we go because we have to go. Thanksgiving's coming up next week. It's American holiday. Canada's Thanksgiving was last year, but Thanksgiving
last year?
Last month. Sorry about that.
It was last year.
Anyway, so we know that Thanksgiving is not what people think it is. It has nothing to do with pilgrims and settlers. Well, it does have to do with settlers, and it has nothing to do with the Massachusetts Bay Colony. It actually has to do in the 1600s, early 1600s, when the then governor of the Connecticut colony wanted to have a Thanksgiving because they had wiped out all the Indians in the area, and now they were free of all the natives, and they celebrated. And that's the first Thanksgiving.
Well, it's interesting because the indigenous peoples are coming together, and I believe that the indigenous peoples are going to hold a lot of keys to what's coming up in
Well, they do.
in the future.
They do.
So, but they're starting to unite, and now that's something we haven't seen.
Well, I'm glad that you're part Native American, so
Me
that
too.
you won't scalp. Well, will you scalp? Well, I have nothing to scalp, actually, so
Well,
I'm safe.
It's not just your hair; it's actually your scalp.
you wouldn't ever.
Anyway,
Anyway.
that's just a little bit of a rumor.
What? That you scalp? people?
Native Americans. So they
Oh.
don't really do those kind of things.
Yeah, they did.
The white people did those things too.
They do it now.
The white people did it too, all kinds of people. So I mean, it's just not, it's not an indigenous thing. So there's lots of rumors that people believe that aren't true. Anyway, I want to remind people, please, that please go on Facebook. Please like our expansions page. Please like our personal fan pages. Please invite your friends to like it because it all helps to raise us up in the Google status for people who are trying to find us.
I like to be all googly.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, in January is our next big event, our Hyperspace Oversoul Extravaganza right here in St. Joseph, Michigan, where we actually use the forces of nature to go inside and to dig up what's going on to help prepare you for 2015 and what's coming.
Yeah, and this year, which I never have done before in the class, is I'm going to tell you what to expect in 2015 and give documentation on that from codes.
And some specific to those individuals who will be here. We have our Oversoul Mastermind group, which will be opening up again for application right away. You do have to attend the January class in order to be considered for the Oversoul Mastermind group, so keep that in mind. In April, we have coming up our Spring Healing Seminar, Addicted to Addictions, Get Hooked on Health Instead. And we are in the process of putting together a new webinar, which we have not done for a year or two.
Yeah.
And the working title is Prophecy. So keep your eyes open for the announcement of that. Sign up for our newsletters because we give you special discounts. All kinds of interesting things are always happening at expansions.com.
That's the truth. It's
Right.
never dull around
It's
here.
never dull.
There's always something.
Yes, we have a lot of things that we're studying right now and a couple of books in the works, which with luck will be put out right after the first of the year.
Oh, really? That's even a surprise to me. So you surprise me all the time.
Yeah, well, they're coming. So
All
we're
right.
we're gonna make it happen. So we have lots of stuff going on here. So we look forward to seeing you in January. Get a hold of Patricia, customer support at expansions.com. She'll help you make that arrangement because it's a very special time.
It really and truly is.
2015 is an 8, an oversoul year, a money year, an energy year. Lots of things can
Ice Age
happen.
year.
You want to make that happen for you in a positive way, not in a negative way.
That's right.
Okay?
I couldn't agree more.
All right.
So if you live in the U.S. And you celebrate Thanksgiving, just remember what it really is, but have a nice dinner anyway.
Be grateful. That's
Be
what-
grateful for other things.
for what you have.
Yeah, it's not history, it's about now.
And focus on the positive because that's what grows is what you focus on.
That's right, and I just wrote an article about what you should focus on, and that's on my blog, go read it.
I just wrote a blog last month on what you focus on. I think you stole my ideas.
No, I think that you tried to read my mind and extrapolated on that before I could do my article.
That's because I got a hold of that physicist and he told me all about it.
You got a hold of the
I
physicist?
got a hold of the physicist.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Say
that.
physicist 10 times.
No, I will not. Anyway, we'll see you next time.
Bye.